Hello there and welcome back to Midlife Rises. I'm Cheryl. I want to pick up from where I was talking about building discernment. The parts that weren't clear, I was talking about an Italian school friend that kind of encouraged me to go out to Central Park. I was sort of naive in that sense. Don't even ask me what part of Central Park. I was just led and it was a lot of fun. When my mom's picked up, she immediately pulled me out of the school and brought me into Brooklyn, where I was going to school locally. I still was doing my fashion and stuff, but that is where I actually learned my skills. Like I went into learning how to type, one thing led to a next, and that's how I wound up working in word processing departments, processing like massive documents and stuff at law firms. So a lot of times when things happen, you have to look at what stages, because everything happens for a reason. They did say that. I liked fashion, but I didn't want what it came with. I wanted more business. I wanted to be more business oriented. And Wingate High School, it gave me that. It was there that I learned typing, elevating into help desk training and that kind of thing. I was saying that our experiences, it really does give us testimony. So a lot of times when we have them, working our way up to midlife years, it's best to embrace it. I know it's easier said than done, especially when we're talking about traumatic experiences. I can't hone in on that too much. I could just stand back and say, you should be able to have a choice. I'm not trying to be funny when I say that. Things happen and we should be able to take the negatives and turn it into a positive. I think what they say is take the lemons and prepare lemon juice. That's the same analogy, to just work with what you have. So I also touched base with being on the narrow road. And when I talk about being on a narrow road, it's basically being open to do the work, to have these experiences and to overcome them, to understand why they happened, and to work with it. Taking your challenges and turning it into a positive. But a lot of us like to take the highway, the easy road, and at the end, I was listening to something last night and it said that the devil pretty much fattens up the pig for slaughter. That is hysterical, because you get fed these lies and we hone in on it because we want the easy road. One of the reasons why I talked about my experience on going out to the city at that early age, again, is because it helped me to build certain skills, and I was paying attention. That's what I do. Nothing really gets past me. I pay attention to everything because I know for a fact that 1 and 1, it has to equal 2. It can't be 4 and 5. Nothing just happens. Everything happens for a reason, and it's not to be crazy about trying to analyze everything because you don't want to be a freak with it. But you have to pay attention and learn from your experiences, because if it's constantly happening, then these are things that can help you to build certain skills, life skills. In the early years, I was out there, I was partying and stuff, 15, 16. I'm hanging out with my cousins, my sisters, and I was very young. I didn't look that way because I was tall. And I used to lie about my age. I was 16 for a very long time and nobody noticed that it went way into like 2 years. But, it worked out at the time because it was very hard to really see that I was as young as I was, but I always had older friends because I wanted to learn. We talk about us having a private talk show, and I want to go a little deeper into that now. My voice is kind of pulling and tugging with a head cold. I've been swimming and the weather is changing. It's getting cold. I don't have a cough or anything, but my voice it's kind of crackly. But these private talk shows, they're basically what we tell ourselves on what's been happening or what has happened, of these experiences that we've had. And so if we're not deducing it the right way, we will actually turn the story around and create something more out of what actually happened. And that will be our understanding. For example, if you are being mentally abused in a relationship, I'll use that. This person that you're with totally understands your insecurities. And if that person is manipulative, or even, like we were talking about narcissism, that person has some kind of mental issues, personality disorders. You're the one that's close, and he or she will be able to hone in on having you like a puppet on a string, because they understand what your insecurities are. And unless you are able to do your proper self-talks and have your self-worth and self-love in place, that person can have you like one of those Sesame Street, I forget what they call it, but yeah, that's what it would be like if you are not able to tell that the person is actually projecting. You're not able to discern that's what's happening, that's what's taking place. Then your self-talks and your whole makeup will be out of whack. So that discernment thing is extremely important. I don't want to say to be suspicious of everyone, but you have to pay attention. For your own sake, you have to pay attention. While you're doing that, you'll actually be building your emotional intelligence, your discernment, as we're talking about tonight, your intuition. I mean, that's all we have. And when something is telling you something's wrong, that is all you have. That is your sensor to let you know which way to turn. That is kind of like your GPS. You can't ignore that. You have to pay attention to what you feel. I want to give you a little story because I want to show you that when you have your discernment in place, it can save you from a lot of problems. Years ago, I met someone that was trying to talk to me when I was a teenager. He had me by about 10 years. I liked the person, but I knew it was a grown man to me, and even though I appeared like I was, part of the crowd, I was actually very young amongst the people that I was partying with. Years went by, and we wound up meeting each other again, and it's someone that I always thought was kind of cute. We reconnected. It was understood that he is in a marriage, an open marriage. He told me that they weren't together, but they lived in the same house, and that's not unusual. When we get to this stage, midlife, a lot of us, we live staged lives for whatever reason. So not getting off the topic, he lives out of state, and it's someone that I am not going to say that I was not crazy about. It's someone I cared for. And one of the things that I was really fascinated with is that he had me by close to 10 years, and he was very childlike. What I saw was a very sweet, giving, quiet, easygoing person. I kind of moved along with it, and one of the times he came up, he invited me over, and we went out to a party. He fed me alcohol, and let me tell you, when I drink, my senses double up. And that is also because of what I did over the years, just being out there. I was not a wild person, but I liked, partying and getting my drinks in and being part of the crowd. But we went out dancing, and he fed me a couple of drinks, and we're coming back to the place, and I'm open because I'm very attracted to this individual. We started to kind of get into it, and he says to me, "This is what you were waiting on, right? Remember the Flintstones? How when Fred is driving the car, he uses his legs to just and swaps the car? Well, that's what happened." And this thing rode out for it was about 7 years, and it never got off the ground, because that's where my senses went up, and I started watching and learning, because I knew that something was wrong. I wasn't sure what it was, but I knew, and I saw that the person was very into himself. Like he was one of those that was God's gift to women kind of thing. But I didn't take it in any way. I got married at a very early age. An experienced woman. I was living in a house with my husband for many years. I had a good sense of exactly what I was looking for. And that was not it. But it was not a situation where I didn't want to be with the person. Every chance I got, I wanted to, to hang out with him because we had fun together. We had an attraction. But there were a lot of things that was off. And I found myself disciplining this person. And I was fascinated in a way too because, like I said, it was a childlike person. And I'm childlike too. I mean, there's a difference between childish and childlike. But what I'm trying to say here is because my discernment was in place, I knew not to get too into it. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I felt love for this person. I felt something very special, but it was not something that I could see myself pulling from his situation and building with myself. Now, I know what he was telling me because he's friends also with a lot of people that we knew in my community. And from little things that I was hearing, I knew that things were being said that was off, and I would correct it. But if you do not have your discernment in place, you can find yourself in such a situation, especially when you are in the mode where you're looking for your life partner. You're on this station, you're watching this show, you are in your midlife, and you have to pay attention. I have psychology background. I probably would have been a psychologist, but I don't like reading the big books, and it was a lot of them. So I took what I could from it, to help myself, but I didn't go deep into it. But I've done a lot of psychology classes, a broad spectrum of studies in psychology. I did that because you need to understand what makes us tick, taking time to understand yourself and your environment. What triggers your behavior? And when you start really trying to understand those little parts, then you're starting to build your emotional intelligence, because our emotions is what makes us up. It's what drives us. And when you have experiences, it makes a blueprint. And when it happens again, or anything that resembles it, you're going to pull those files and you're going to apply it. This is what gives you the wisdom, the understanding. Certain things my mom used to point out, I would wonder, how did she know that? But it's because she had light years over me. She understood exactly what was taking place and why. And today I am a mother to 3 grown sons. My first son runs a department, and he might not like to hear this, but very seldom he can pull one over me, and it's simply because I have him by 20 years. You should be able to think that way. You have parents, their children are outgrowing them because they did not take the time to grow. That is unacceptable. I was telling you guys the story of my roommate and the lady upstairs. I'm going to go back to that. My roommate, when you ask her, well, what did you study? She'd say, I'm an educated bitch. I have 3 degrees. And she did. Never got married. Not to say that she had to, because we have a choice. And she didn't have any children. She was an educated bitch in the books, but she was not educated on self. And the same thing went for the person upstairs. Another middle-aged person, no children, no husband. just work and home. And that's okay for someone that shows that. But if that's how your life turned out, and your self-talk is not the way it should be, you will guarantee be a missile waiting to land. When I met my roommate, she was so centered, so down to earth. We connected right away and we made the decision, but I guess when I moved in and she saw me the way I was, gregarious, my sons came by, they visited me. They came by, they helped her with some stuff in her basement, and I guess the one upstairs was watching. And then my older son came by with his family, you know, and not knowing what environment I was in, that was offensive. It's sad because if we are able to deal with our shortcomings, I'm saying this, but I don't know exactly what it would be like at this stage for me to be in my midlife. Was never married, have no children, have a career, and that's all that's going on. Who knows? I can sit here and say, well, you know, I would be this, I would be... You don't know. The point I'm making here is we pay attention to the wrong things. We need to build on self. Self-awareness, discernment, emotional intelligence. And let's not forget having something we believe in, and that we can turn to that source to get a better understanding. Because we're in a midlife now, and a good bit of us, more than 50%, are lost. And I'm talking sometimes an established person. I don't think that it's ever too late to build on self, to just live your life in a way where you will get that inner joy and not waste time getting involved with negative emotions like envy and jealousy, competition, vindictiveness. I gave you the story of my friend talking about discernment, but when you are not expecting, because let me tell you, if somebody's a good liar, you've got to give them their credit. You have got to give a good liar their credit, because that's a skill in itself. But who does it hurt in the long run? It hurts the person, because everything that's in the dark has to come to light eventually. I am a very serious person. People who know me from, you know, a young woman, they know the way I carry myself. It's very conservative. I don't play around. And not for nothing, that's just the way I am. I don't think that I'm better than anyone else. I don't think that I need to be driving a Ferrari to be with me. I've never been superficial like that. I take people at face value. And I am very childlike, but I'm real huge on respect. And I don't disrespect others because I don't like it for myself. I know what happens, what I can turn into when I'm disrespected. And so I've always been respectful to others, their feelings, and, you know, I mean, I've built certain skills where I can tell, I know. But a lot of us don't think that we need to be concerned about any of that. And that's so far from the truth. You have got to treat others the way you would want to be treated. I'm still dealing with the loss of my parents, and there are still a lot of adjustments that I'm getting used to in my life. I have a job that I really enjoy. I like the people I work with. I like, you know, the manager I work under, and I'm just kind of like trying to balance myself out. I don't have time to play games with anyone. If I'm going to be in competition with someone, I need to know it. I need to have a choice to say, oh, I'm not doing that. If I am not given a choice, then that's not being fair to me. You know what you need to make yourself happy. That's if you've taken the time to build your discernment, your awareness, or your realization skills. These things are super important because there are a lot of damaged men out here. There are females as well, but I'm talking about the opposite sex. And it's because they are not dealing with their issues. And so, as midlife women, we have to build our discernment so that we can pick up the damaged apples, who are damaged and who needs healing. Because all the work that you've done for yourself up to this time, it would be really crazy to go and give that to someone just because. That would not make any kind of sense. All right? So work on building your discernment and do it because it's something that you really need to do for your survival, to pick up unhealthy egos and all the other craziness, the down lows, the narcissistic personality disorders. You've got to have your discernment in place. You know, it's funny because I'm a mom for like 3 grown sons. And so when a woman has children and you have the immature men that are coming up against a woman who is balanced, mature, nothing more is going to happen than you bringing out that person's maternal instinct. You're not going to see the womanly side of her like a partner. No, what you're going to see is her maternal side, because that's what you're bringing out. And so I have a tendency that when I deal with a man that is not right, he goes on punishment, because that's what I did with my boys. And so, you know, that's the reaction. That is the reaction you are going to get when you're not coming right. A lot of us, we try to hide behind material things, and we think that this is going to be the makeup, this is how the world is going to see us, you know, the big house, the luxury car. There was a movie, I forgot what it was, and I always like to go back to these movies. It was a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was going into this dream state, and he was living a life that wasn't really real. Would go into this place, get injected. The part that I want to talk about is he was in this cave-like thing with different Martians, because it was on a planet. And there was this guy that he had to talk to find out what he was like and what really happened, why he wound up in another planet and stuff like that. And the person that he was looking at was a Martian, and it wound up dying. And when it died, the thing opened up, and it was a little man that was inside of this big thing that was doing the moving around and talking the whole time. It was just a little person. The analogy behind this story is that we tend to hide behind material things to define us. But what happens when these things get stripped? Who are you at that point? What is your character like? Are you a person of humility and integrity? So, you know, it's interesting, but I like sharing this stuff because I've been through a lot, and I embrace all of it because that is why I am who I am today. It's all of the experiences, and it's not just me, it's you as well. But some of us like to ignore what happened. And it's not to say you're going back in the past. You could be in the present, but you've got to build your wisdom. And that gets built when you have your discernment in place, when you're working on that. Because it's just not right to be going through life and not grow. You are doing things that you shouldn't at this stage because you haven't built the necessary skills. So I think that should start today, especially since we are approaching a new year. Okay? So that's all I have for you for tonight. Thanks so much for sitting with me. I hope that you got something out of it. Check us out every first and third Tuesday and Thursday of the month, and we will see you next time. Okay? You take care now.